Welcome to the Old Man of the Three with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter, brought to you by 342 Productions. This is episode 181. Jalen Williams. Tommy, Jalen off to another nice start here to start the season. 15.5 points a game, 4.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds. The Thunder are 3-1. We were going to spend today's intro talking about the Thunder and specifically about Chet Holmgren. But overnight, the news broke that James Harden was finally going to be traded.
The 3 a.m. special.
The late night Woj bomb. I do want to say a couple things about Jalen first. I think anybody who's followed the podcast for the last 8 or 9 months knows that I'm a huge fan of him. As a basketball player, I traveled to OKC a couple weeks ago to interview him in person and was just really impressed. First of all, great storyteller. Has an all-time story about his pre-draft workout that I found to be funny. I laughed about it, literally, LOL'd days later. But this kid, he's just got a great head on his shoulder. He's wired the right way. He's got such a bright future, as do a number of young players on Oklahoma City Thunder. Before we talk about James Harden, I do want to shout out everyone in Oklahoma City who made, Jason obviously lives there, but made our trip so enjoyable. Matt from OKC, who just set everything up, was just a consummate pro the day we were there, and then Derek Watson and the Lampstand crew. We filmed this in a studio in Oklahoma City. And Tommy, we're getting ready to move into new offices here in a few months. And a lot of what we're basing our layout on is based on this studio with Lampstand. They just did a great job. So really appreciate it.
I would say if current trends continue, there will be more trips to OKC in the future.
Let's hope so. I've got a round of golf at Southern Hills that I need to cash in on.
And I'm glad because the fans have been bitching at us for about a year and a half to have a Thunder player on, and we finally did, and there will be more soon.
Guys, it's not like we're not trying. Every time somebody says, "Get Giannis on, get Booker on," it's like, we're trying.
There hasn't been one person who fans have asked for us to have on that we have not tried to have on.
We've asked. All right. Let's talk a little Philadelphia 76ers and LA Clippers. DraftKings Sportsbook segment here. Want to go through real quick because I actually want to talk about the trade, but I want to go through real quick the off-season championship odds all the way up to this morning after this trade was consummated. So Philly started the offseason at plus 1,300, LAC at plus 1,800. Obviously, by opening night, some uncertainty around James Harden. Philly's odds had shifted. They were now at plus 1,800. LA Clippers stayed the same at plus 1,800. Yesterday, Philly at plus 1,900. LA Clippers at plus 1,700. And then after the trade, Philly went to plus 1,800, and the Clippers dropped down to plus 1,200, which is the same as the Warriors and a touch better than the Lakers at plus 1,300. So clearly, the odds makers thinks that the Clippers improved their championship odds with this trade, and there's a lot to get into. James Harden, PJ Tucker, going to the Clippers for Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, 2 first-round picks, 2026, 2028, some second-round picks, and a pick swap. I want to say one thing before you start. Any questions you have, any comments you have. Saw a lot this morning when I woke up at 6:30 to go get my Invisalign put in. I have Invisalign now, 3.5 months. We're going to work through this together, guys.
So no comments.
So on my way to the dentist, I was reading the comments about this trade, and I'm like, based on the market, based on what James Harden said, I want to go to LA. I want to go to LA. There's not really any other market for him. I think Philly did all right with this. They did all right. And you and I were just talking off camera. It's probably likely they package some of these players and a pick or two to get another player. I look at this sort of like how Portland did the Dame trade. I don't think Philly is done wheeling and dealing.
The OKC pick as a throw-in at the end felt big for them. Are you surprised that the Clippers were able to do this without giving up Man?
No. And truthfully, if I get the holdout if you're the Clippers, and I get Philly being like, we want Terrence Mann, or even Norman Powell. The reality is, specifically with Covington, who was a teammate of mine, loved playing with Rob, and Nicholas Batum, who's a guy I competed against a ton. Look, their best days are behind them. They're on the sort of the last few innings of their career. I don't know how much longer they'll play, but Robert Covington, largely out of the rotation. Even when he did play, he played 16 minutes a game last year. Off to a slow start right now. Batum is always solid, but he's not the Batum that earned a 5-year, $125 million contract in Charlotte 7 years ago. So these guys, Marcus Morris still has a lot in him. Had a solid season last year. KJ Martin, exciting young player. So they got players that can play. I'm not saying that, but if you're Philly, you probably want Norman Powell. You probably want Terrence Mann in this deal. The guys you can just plug and play right away.
Yeah. So Philly first. I guess my question is, it seems, just from what we've talked about and what we've talked with other people around the league, this is probably a precursor to something else. And the question would just be whether it's, trying to go get another max guy or going to get a couple of role players who fit into what they're trying to do. And I thought what you and Legs talked about the other day with Maxey in particular, just like building around his skill set as a guard and just even the way he gets the ball up the court and his Legs brought the positivity thing, but that's real. It's like you need a player that can fit in with him. So if you're them right now, what is not even necessarily who specifically, but what does your next 6 weeks look like in terms of like how we're going to use some of these assets to get better this year?
The question I have is who's guarding the bigger wings? Because I think I really trust DeAnthony Melton as a perimeter defender, but in terms of the bigger wings that you're going to have in the East, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, even to some extent, PJ Tucker guarded Giannis at times, right? So it's the bigger offensive players. I don't think right now you can necessarily rely on Jaden Springer, who's been awesome so far in preseason and early. Jalen McDaniels, maybe. Is Tobias all of a sudden your wing stopper for bigger guys like Jimmy Butler? So that's where I think there's a need losing PJ. And I know there were a contingent of Philly fans that probably didn't love PJ just because he didn't bring a lot offensively. But his defensive skill set and his tenacity and just knowing that you have a guy who's going to guard at a high level, the bigger players, there's a comfort blanket in that. And that's where I think Philly probably needs to address. And the one team that seems obvious, having watched them a little bit so far in the early stages of this season, is the Chicago Bulls.
The question would be with the Chicago
they beat
Bulls,
the Pacers last night.
The question with the Bulls would be who on this team, because it feels like there are multiple paths to go.
Yeah.
Both which you could make the argument for either way.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're the team that everybody's going to be monitoring over the next 3 months going into the trade deadline. I don't think there's a contender out there that wouldn't love to have Alex Caruso on their team.
Yep.
I mean, he's the guy, right? Zach LaVine, of course, a star. DeMar DeRozan, going to be a free agent. So it's no extension. So there's some options there.
Can I throw out one other team?
Yeah.
Who is not did not look great last year and does not look great this year so far, and that's Toronto. And maybe Siakam.
Yeah. Siakam, OG.
I mean, they got a few guys.
Yeah.
But that feels like at a certain point they're going to have to make a call. And to your point earlier about Philly, I mean, they have assets.
Yeah.
They've set themselves up nicely. Daryl clearly has a plan, so we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I guess my last thing before we get to the Clippers, because I want to talk about that, is are you with how the Dame trade went down and just how the sort of landscape has changed a little bit in terms of guys being able to like force themselves to where they say they want to go publicly? Are you kind of surprised this ended up being as clean as it was?
No. Because I do think teams and players should act in their own self-interest. And given what at least I know about the trade market with James Harden, I think Philly did a nice job, and the self-interest was we made a trade that's palatable. And, again, we talked about this all summer as these trades were happening, whether it was Bradley Beal or Chris Paul or a number of other guys. Like the landscape of what happened with Gobert and Donovan Mitchell is much different now. And I just don't think, there's going to be a trade at some point where somebody trades 5 first-round picks, but I just don't think that's going to happen as much anymore with star players. I just don't think it is. Let's talk about the Clippers because I do like this trade for them. I do like the fit Harden with Paul George and Kawhi. I do have a little bit of an issue with the Westbrook-Harden pairing at this stage of their careers. I think that's my main issue because I think Russ gave the Clippers something that they didn't have in that. And he's not the elite finisher that he was 10 years ago, but he's going to put pressure on the rim. He's going to put pressure on the backside of the defense. He's going to create pace. He's going to get the rebound and dribble out and get out in transition. And so in some ways, I'm concerned that all the good stuff we saw with Russ with the Clippers since he ended up there in the buyout and early in the season gets mitigated because Harden's going to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
And he's back to, I hate to say it, but a little bit of the role that he played with the Lakers.
Yeah.
And that's probably my biggest concern because I do think keeping Norman Powell, keeping Terrence Mann, adding James Harden to Kawhi and Paul George. Yeah, I think the Clippers got better.
Yeah. This feels a little bit just like an insurance hatch for them in terms of just their health and having this has been a team. I mean, they've been snake bit since those guys have gotten there. And so adding a piece like Harden just feels like it's if one of those guys does go down again, maybe you have to change up your scheme a little bit, but you can run the ball. You can sort of run the offense through him more. He led the league in assists last year. I was looking at Kawhi's shooting numbers so far this year. He's shooting 55% from three so far this year. Obviously, small sample size. He shot 47% over his last 35 games from three last year. Do you feel like they're going to make that more of an emphasis in terms of James sort of looking like rather than having to just sort of run everything through him offensively, just sort of look for him more on the perimeter, and maybe that can help with some of this, injury stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think some of the injury stuff is interesting. Not to rehash the discourse, an injury is an injury, and Paul George and Kawhi have been injured. They've gotten hurt, whether it's been an elbow, an ankle, a knee, whatever it's been. They've gotten hurt, and then there's the rest part, the load management part. And look, the rules are in place. The rules are in place. I think we're going to see less of that with this team. I do feel that there is going to be more of an emphasis on the regular season with the Clippers, and I do think James Harden helps in that regard. I will be watching, especially, I think there's always a honeymoon period with this stuff where everybody, I'm just going to defer. I'm just going to defer. So I'll be watching for the next month, 4 to 6 weeks, how this all works offensively. Everybody's always talked about Paul George and Kawhi having a table setter, and James Harden, of course, is that. But you also want the ball in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's hands. Like Kawhi and ISO, Kawhi in a pick and roll is great. And, I think all basketball fans for the last 3 or 4 years have been like, James Harden, when you spot up, will you just shoot the catch and shoot three? And to me, he's got to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Because I do think the offense, as good as Harden is and still is, I think the offense still has to run through Kawhi and Paul George.
Harden, 41% catch and shoot threes last year, 38% on pull-up threes. Sort of last question before we wrap. Are the Clippers now, we were talking about the odds before, are the Clippers now, in your opinion, title contenders?
I think this moves them in that direction. You always want to see how it works on a basketball court rather than on a piece of paper or a spreadsheet.
2K.
Yeah.
2K lineup.
Yeah. So look, I'm not going to put them in tier 1 right now. Maybe in a month, maybe in 2 months, I will. Again, going back to DraftKings Sportsbook, I think it's safe to say they have them just outside the tier 1 in terms of these odds. They're tied for 5th with the Golden State Warriors, and of course the Celtics, the Bucks, the Nuggets, the top 3, then the Phoenix Suns. I've watched 3 of the 4 Nuggets games. They're pretty damn good. The continuity there is pretty good.
They're pretty damn good, and it's hard to say how this trade helps LA deal with the big guy.
It's a fair point. Basketball's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code JJ. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 and over, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. All right, let's get to our conversation with Oklahoma City Thunder, jack of all trades, because he doesn't really have a position, Jalen Williams.
Jalen, were you at all confused on draft night when the Oklahoma City Thunder selected Jalen Williams with the 34th pick in the 22 NBA draft?
Honestly, I didn't even hear it until I think we were eating dinner. Cause when you get, for everybody that doesn't know, when you get picked up, there's just a ton of media after. So I actually didn't see any picks. So I was just really a couple hours after, I was like, oh wow, another Jalen. So
did you guys already have the J-Dub and J-Will monikers before? Or was that decided upon once you guys got to summer league practice?
It was random. I think it ended up working out because that's kind of what he goes by, is J-Will. So, and I've been going by Dub forever. So it kind of worked out really well. And I was going to have Dub regardless. He wasn't going to be able to.
What's the word there, Jason? Synchronicity?
Yeah.
Something like that. It is nice. Did you work out for OKC? How many times did you work out for OKC pre-draft?
Just once. Yeah. Just a nice little, it was middle too. It was I think I did 12 workouts or somewhere around there. No, I did 11. Dallas traded a first round pick while I was out there. So that would have been my 12th one. So it was I probably did OKC around 8 or 9.
Before you came to OKC for the pre-draft workout, did you know what Mark Daigneault looked like?
No, I had no idea. So and we're working out and he's chirping at me during there, and I'm going through the ones and I'm scoring and I'm talking shit to Mark, and we end up kind of butting heads, but talking back and forth the whole workout. And then I think how you have the meetings afterwards, he walks in and introduces himself.
You're like, oh, that's the head coach?
Yeah, CEO, this is the head coach. I text the agent. I'm like, yeah, I might be cooked here.
Wait, what were you chirping with him during the workout?
Yeah, he was Mark likes to now that I'm with him every day, he likes to try and get under your skin and push you. So he was doing that, and I'm quiet, especially during the draft. I was just
right. You want to be respectful. You make a good impression.
Yeah. So I'm really quiet, not really saying anything. And then he's I'm doing really well in the 1-on-1 and our 3-on-3. So he starts yelling out stuff that he watched me do in college. And he was like, oh, well, don't let him do that. Blah, blah. So I'm doing the opposite of whatever he's saying. And now I'm in kind of go mode. So I'm talking trash to him the whole rest of the practice. And then he walked in during that meeting and I was like, oh, it's over.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make, actually. First of all, I just want to say this. Mark, I'm an outside observer on this. And I think Mark is one of the best coaches in the NBA. And I really mean that. And as a broadcaster now, one of my favorite parts of the job, besides documenting the NBA and getting to call games, of course, is the 10 to 15 minutes we get to spend with the head coaches pregame. We get a little interview time in the green room, or sometimes, Doc Rivers used to make us go into his office, but most coaches come to the green room. And last year when I called one of your games, I just came away so impressed. There's 3 or 4 coaches that I've talked to that I've come away wow, that guy, he's got it. He understands it, and I do remember when he was named head coach that there was a puzzling, who is that? I remember thinking that, and I had no idea what he looked like. until we played him. That's how. It's pretty weird.
It's weird too, because like I don't know if Mark's ever played, but like it's like he really like understands like basketball, and then like most importantly, he understands our team. So it's weird to have a coach that I don't know if like really played, but like he understands like kind of what we're going through and like what we're feeling. So like he's really relatable. But yeah, I had no idea who that was.
That was the big takeaway though, was, we got into some like X's and O's stuff. I remember him talking about how, Shai, when Shai's on the floor and you guys need a bucket, because Shai didn't play that night. He was banged up. It was second night of a back-to-back. I think you guys were in Utah the night before. And he's like, when we need a bucket, Shai's so good at getting the foul line. So if another team's going on a run, we'll just call a play so that Shai can get to the free throw line. It's like stuff like that, little stuff that I'm like, okay, he gets it. But the other takeaway was the interpersonal stuff, which I think for coaches in the NBA is so paramount. Yeah. And it felt like at the time when in talking to him that he just understood guys. I remember him talking about Kenrich in specific, because I was Kenrich's teammate. And I just remember thinking like, this guy understands how to connect with players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're young too. So it's like, it's almost like unheard of to be that like cool with us. Like I have no problem going to Mark and like talking about whatever. But he gets along with the whole team really well. And I think everybody's really, and it helps too, because everybody's really comfortable and that's like our organization. But yeah, Mark is really good at kind of connecting. I think he knows what makes everybody kind of go. And, like we were talking about the pre-draft, like I think he kind of knows how to like get under people's skin and kind of get the best from us too.
NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for throwing down $5 on the NBA. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You'll start the season with an instant dub. And with DraftKings parlays, everyone's got a shot at even bigger basketball wins. String together multiple bets from the same game or build your parlay across multiple games for a shot at making your payday even sweeter. Basketball's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code JJ. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 and over, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. All right, time to talk to you all about my favorite way to hydrate, Smart Water Alkaline. This stuff is the best. I'm traveling a lot these days to call games, and Smart Water Alkaline has been the best way for me to stay hydrated. Not to mention the bottle looks great and sleek and slips right into the side pocket of my carry-on bag. And looks aren't everything. Smart Water Alkaline has kept me hydrated going to and from the gym. I'm telling you, Smart Water Alkaline is the hydration choice for people looking to elevate in all areas of their lives. Smart Water Alkaline is premium vapor distilled bottled water with added electrolytes for a pure, crisp taste. It has a higher pH level, added antioxidants, and extra electrolytes for taste. I'm telling you, Smart Water Alkaline is the hydration choice for people looking to elevate in all areas of their lives. So be sure to grab yourself a bottle today. Smart Water Alkaline is available at a store near you.
This time of year and this team, I was thinking about your team a lot as we were getting ready to fly here to OKC. I told Jalen this, by the way. I normally don't travel for the podcast for young players, but I made an exception for Jalen. I made an exception for you because I'm such a fan. But, in thinking about your team, we've talked about you a ton. I think Kevin O'Connor and Bill Simmons came out with literally a OKC podcast today. Nekias Duncan, who works with us, said he thinks you guys are going to get home court advantage. It's a much different sort of vibe nationally, I think, right now in the NBA world from where we were last year about this team. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering how you guys, Mark, the players, everyone is sort of having expectations this year. I was thinking about it. Like, this team probably has the most expectations since 2016, since Kevin Durant's last year here. Even the Chris Paul year, that team was not supposed to be great, and they ended up being great.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's really like too worried about kind of the presses. And I think we have a lot of people that want to prove something. And I feel like that automatically eliminates a lot of like kind of interpersonal expectations that the world kind of has for us or placed. I think we have a lot of guys with like a chip on our shoulder. And, like I said, a lot of guys that have a lot to prove. And we also have the understanding that teams aren't really going to rest, everybody when we play them night in and night out, which kind of happened last year. And we made the right steps to obviously win those games and kind of get the respect there. So I think just understanding that is kind of our first thing. And then we're just like a day by day team.
You mentioned having something to prove. What do you feel like you have to prove in year 2?
That I got better over the summer. I feel like everybody's trying to do that right now.
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned about like points or stats in regards to that, but just kind of how I approach the game is kind of a big thing for me. And
what do you mean by that?
I think just like obviously like little stuff like taking care of my body and, recovery. I think understanding like flights and, like the little stuff. Like, yeah.
Well, being a rookie, you literally don't know until you know.
Yeah. I was leaving bags and stuff last year and like forgetting to pack on the day. I forgot where we were. We were at home. I didn't realize that we were flying. We had a back-to-back. I didn't
like a fly-out game.
Yeah. I didn't realize we were going to Orlando that night. And I had to like drive back home with like, with our security and pack a bag and then go to Orlando.
What you mentioned like that you got better over the summer. And I think there's the part that you're talking about right now in just figuring out routine, how to take care of yourself, your extra work in season, your sleep habits, like all that stuff. Like it took, dude, I'll be honest, it took me 3 years. Like it didn't click right away. In terms of the on-court stuff, in sort of assessing your rookie year and where you sort of want to take the next step this year, what does that look like on the court?
I was matched up with a lot of like kind of range of like the 1 through like even the 5. So I definitely want to understand like our principles in that. And like I got in the weight room pretty aggressive this past summer. And then offensively, I think everything revolves around getting to the free throw line. I think that's something everybody looks at. So that's something that I've been trying to work on and, just get a couple more. I only think I shot like maybe a little over 1 a game. So some of that comes with the whole rookie thing from what I was told, where you just kind of get hit and nobody really says anything, but
you haven't quite earned it yet.
Yeah, I haven't earned it yet, but trying to figure out how to get to the line a little bit more, maybe get a little more threes, kind of stuff like that.
When you say everyone, do you mean everyone in your team, or are you talking about like elite scorers?
Oh, literally like elite scorers. You kind of look at everybody, like, you take Shai, for example, who shoot 12 free throws a game, at worst, if he misses 5, he still, get like 7 points.
It's the easy stuff.
Yeah.
No, easy buckets. It's a fact, man. It's a fact. Figuring out, I think the bonus situation, and like thinking through the bonus situation where, for LA, it was like anything off ball, like all the, double screens, triple screens. Sometimes it's like, all right, we're in the bonus. Let me try to create some contact to get held off this pick.
Yeah.
Or with New Orleans, we ran 21 all the time. And everybody tries to switch that 20, that step up screen in 21 in pistol action.
Yeah.
And so I just like run by the guy if he had his arm out, and I
just try and draw a foul.
Something. Throw my arm. I'm getting 2 free throws. It's easy points.
Yeah, we'll see how the flopping.
But it is the difference between 14 a game and let's say 19 a game. Literally, it's the difference a lot of times is free throws, especially with your team, because Giddey's going to have the ball, Shai's going to have the ball, Chet's going to do his thing. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people were really impressed with Chet the other night against Wembanyama. And I had called one of your guys' games in Vegas going into your rookie year when he was healthy. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from him over the last, call it 6 months since he's been back on the court and healthy and in this preseason that gets you pretty excited for his actual rookie year?
I mean, if you even past before the 6 months, I think just how serious he took his rehab and like how anxious he was to like kind of get back, obviously not rush anything, but I think just like that's stuff that like the outside world doesn't know, that he's coming in before us and leaving after everybody, you know, still doing rehab and working on his feet. And then obviously up until now, he's just so versatile. Like he does a lot. I feel like even obviously it's preseason, so everybody's still trying to figure it out, but I just feel like he gives us a different look. Like I feel like the court is more spread with him. And then defensively, you know, just having a big that can block shots and kind of alter stuff. And, you know, where I'm not at the 5 all the time is nice. So, but he does a lot just kind of on both ends where it's like just space. Like defensively, he kind of kills space, and offensively, he can really stretch the floor. And he's done a really good job of playing off of us too. Yeah.
I want to get to the guarding fives in a second. I think what you just said is actually a really interesting description of Chet in terms of the space issue, right? He's creating it offensively and he's eliminating it defensively. I'm going to ask you a serious question, and I mean this in a positive way about Chet. Is he an asshole?
No, he's not an asshole.
On the court?
No, I mean, I feel like you got to be an asshole on the court for sure. But I don't know. Chet's like, it's hard to like see anybody on our team because we're so goofy. So it's like, even when like, if you do something that like everybody's like, oh, he's an asshole. Like to us, it's hilarious. Like, you know, he's doing the Shadur thing after an and one. Like to us, it's hilarious. I don't know how it looks to the outside world, but.
Well, it was funny because, Wembanyama had headbutted him.
Yeah.
And got the and one and done the flex.
Yeah.
And then Chet got the and one and did the flex.
Yeah, he got some stuff to him for sure. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he definitely.
There's like a competitive edge that he has.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody calls it dog. Yeah.
I'm almost 40, man. Yeah. I'll just call it competitive edge.
Yeah, he got a competitive edge for sure. Like he's not going back down. That's a good trait that he has.
Yeah. In that game against, we would ask you about Wemby in a second, but in that game against San Antonio, you had the sequence that popped up on Twitter. I was watching the game, but it came back Twitter, and I was like literally sending it to people. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, check this out, and it was a rebound, the gather to a Euro dunk, then you blocked a shot, and then you got a putback dunk. I was a very, I don't want to call it one-track mind player. Mm-hmm. I'm always fascinated by players that are called versatile. Right. And what is actually going through your mind? My process was very much like, I got to lock in to the defensive scheme. I know I'm not a great individual defender. I got to lock into the defensive scheme. I can't make a mistake. And then offensively, it was like hunt shots. And if they put 2 on the ball, make the pocket pass. It was like, my game was very simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As you're playing like through a sequence like that, is your mind clear? Are you hunting something? Like what exactly is going through your mind when you're out on the court, like making multiple plays in a row?
That's a really good question. Like it's so random. And I feel like it changes throughout like each game and like situation. So like for like, if you take that game, for example, like in my head, I'm like, I'm missing a lot of layups this game. So I'm like, I got to start trying to dunk the ball. So like, obviously I do the gather, I get the dunk. It's more like just play by play, like defense. It's like either me or Lou are going to have the kind of the best assignment. So when I go down on defense, I'm worried about help and like understanding that, but it honestly helps that you're guarding like
an A1 or an A2.
Yeah. Cause it makes you like kind of hone in on defense more. And then awesome. Offensively, I'm just playing off of other people. And then depending on our lineup is when I found last year that I can be more aggressive here and kind of, I wouldn't say hunt shots or force shots, but now I'm going to be on the ball more. So I can kind of look for my own. And then obviously Shai Gid, Chet coming in, I'm playing off with 3 other great players. So now it's trying to figure out where I fit in. But then when I come down defense, I'm like, whatever's going on, I can't let so-and-so get off. So that's how like my mind is working.
Question for you, because it strikes me that you're comfortable oscillating between like playing off of other people and playing off the ball. Is that true? Like, are you comfortable doing that? I feel like most people are not. And most people that want to eventually be a star player, they want everything like right now.
Yeah.
What makes you so comfortable with that?
I don't know. Like, I want to play in the NBA for a lot of years. And I feel like the more that you're able to do that, like, it just prolongs your career. And I feel like
it also makes the interpersonal dynamics easier.
Yeah. Like, you're not always bumping heads with everybody. Cause I feel like I want to win before I want like anything else. And like, especially last year when we weren't supposed to be by everybody else, like, good, having that year and seeing like kind of our fan base, like, excited. Like, I'd rather have that feeling than it kind of be like, oh yeah, well, he's doing really well, but they're not playing well. Like, that's how my mind is. So I'm okay with like being isolated. Like, if there's some nights where it's like, obviously I don't want to have 7 and I feel like I can have a lot more than that, but it's like, all right, if I could have 7, get a couple big stops, rebounds, like, I'm okay. I want to win the game too.
But I desperately want to understand where this comes from.
I have no idea.
It's rare. Was it a college coach, a high school coach? Which is your parents? Is it Mark? Is it an assistant coach with the Thunder? Like,
I mean, Mark,
it
like,
seems
brings it up.
There's a patience level that you have in terms of not just, it sounds like not just with the team, but your own sort of personal trajectory here.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm comfortable knowing that like I'm talented and like I work for what I'm getting. So there is like a patience. And then last year too, it's like I get hit in the eye and I sit out however many games, and now I'm trying to find my way. Like, there's still like so much season. So like trying to base a performance off like even like a bad, like if I play horrible for 15 games, it's like,
still got 67 more guy.
And then like there's playoffs. So like there's a bunch of other stuff. So it's like, I'd rather just win. And Mark always harps on that because it's like, we're adding in Chet now, and guys are like, Giddey had 2 good years in a row. Shai obviously had his best season up until now. And he's on his trajectory. So everybody's like I said, like everybody's kind of hunting for that, like their thing. But our big thing is like, we want to win games. So It's like, everybody's going to have to, kind of.
Well, it's a tight balance because I think every player naturally is acutely aware of the gravity of their own window of their career, right? And then trying to balance that within, I think, the ultimate team sport.
Yeah.
People get mad when I say that, but I think basketball is. It requires the most cooperation and chemistry to actually do the actual task is to win a basketball game.
Facts,
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the struggle in the NBA. I think that's the biggest thing. And like, I'm, fascinated by coaches. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge for a coach is like, I've got to keep each guy engaged. I've got to keep each guy happy.
Yeah.
But I've also got to do the task, which is win games. And at some point, you're going to have a game where you might take 4 shots, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't want to do that, but it's like it'd be happening. Like, I'd rather win a game. I'm not going to let me not shooting affect the other parts of my game that are good too. So it's like, but believe me, I want to shoot. And they're like, I feel like I've been humbled too. Like, I've had games where I've had 2 points or like 1. My agent came to one of my games and like where he's from, and I had 1 point. I think I had a free throw and we won the game. So I was like, yeah, well. And then next game I have 25. So it's just like, like it's going to happen. Like,
I'm glad you figured this out early, man. I'm glad you figured this early. The gather to the Euro dunk that I mentioned, Jason will be nice enough to include a video clip so that our YouTube watchers will know what I'm talking about here. But the footwork on that, do you practice that often? Is that a regular part of your routine?
Yeah. Like pickups, gathers, kind of getting your arms through. We talked about drawing fouls. That's been the
low gather. Yeah.
It's been like a really big kind of point of emphasis. And my arms are really long, so I kind of have a chance to really, catch a lot of arms and stuff like that. Yeah. But that was an accident.
That one was.
Yeah, it happened really fast. I wouldn't say an accident, but he actually did a good job like cutting off my first dribble. And then the rest was
surprising
like,
Euro.
Yeah, the rest was kind of reactionary. So I had worked on the move, but that was not what I intended to do at first. So
you were intending to go right?
Yeah, I was actually just going to kind of go by him and go right. He actually jumped it really well. And then it was kind of,
it's amazing what muscle memory does. Yeah. I coach my oldest, and we start every practice with like the skill development piece. And then we do some teaching, run some drills pertaining to like our offense and defense. And then we scrimmage at the end. And I've been teaching them the low gather and trying to draw fouls. Like, okay, they're all right-handed except for one kid. So like every play we run is so they can get to their right hand. So we're working on like the low gather when the help defender comes to a finish, or low gather to a floater or whatever. And my son did it the other day, and they called it travel. And I was like, yeah, that was a gather step. That was a gather step. And the ref's like, bro, this isn't the NBA. You can't gather in like 9-year-old basketball. You can't gather to a Euro.
Oh yeah. No,
he's 9. It's like, but I did see the video afterwards, and it was in the NBA and FIBA. It was a clean play.
But not for 9-year-olds. Yeah.
Going against Wemby, you had one play where, you got him completely turned around and you went up for the lefty leg and he recovered and blocked it. And I know you were matched up with him, switched onto him a few times as well. What is it like for a basketball fan who's, being introduced to this guy with a lot of hype? What is it actually like to be on a basketball court against him?
I mean, obviously the height thing is like a big one, because like, that's ridiculous. Like, what is he, 7'5", 7'4"?
He says he's 7'4". I tend to disagree with that. I think he's taller.
Yeah, like that move that you're talking about, I was like, I don't even know if I probably should try to dunk it.
Yeah, turn it over, yeah.
Yeah, but just, it's special. So that was cool to be out there. But I think at the same time, like from a competitor standpoint, like I'm not ever playing somebody and I'm like,
oh, I know that.
We're not playing.
I know that. But there's definitely times where you're going against a guy and you're like, something stands out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, he was able to move really well to be that tall. I think he had a spin. I made him spin. I did everything right. He spun into traffic and he spun from outside the lane and got to the other side kind of easy and laid it up with his left. And I was like, that was the move of the night. I was like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got it. And then, he was shooting threes and he's going to be good.
One time I tapped Kawhi on the stomach. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, he's a robot. He's another one. He's different, right? There's certain guys that are different. Mm-hmm. They're different. What is it like having a 7'2" wingspan? I have negative wingspan.
Yeah.
One of those guys.
Isn't that how shooters go like that? Like
Tyler Hero, baby.
Yeah, a lot of them. A lot of shooters have the negative. I don't know. When I was shorter, because I had a growth spurt. So I was 5'10", 6'11" wingspan. Yeah. And that's tracked. Anybody can go search that up.
So you grew into your arms, essentially.
Yeah. And then my arms grew a little bit more. But I don't know. Now it's not as awkward. Like I'm into my body.
No, I know. Yeah.
But before it was so awkward. Like everything upper body was slow.
Are you cognizant of it though?
Yeah.
You are cognizant of it.
Yeah.
Because I was always cognizant of not having a long wingspan and the things I had to even defensively, if I could stay in front of a guy, but if I get bumped just a little bit, I don't get the contest that a normal guy would get, right?
And I feel like sometimes, like if somebody's quicker than me, there is that gap where I don't think people, because I'm really I'm 6'5", 6'6", somewhere around there. So I kind of back up, and I feel like a lot of guards or whoever I'm guarding think it's more space than what it is until I kind of contest, or I know I can reach around screens a little bit and do that. So I figured out my arms, especially defensively.
You mentioned the growth spurt. How much were you recruited in high school?
Very little.
Very little.
Very little.
I read Hofstra, Nevada. You had Hofstra.
Was that my first one? I think my first one was Nevada. I don't really count it.
Sorry, Nevada.
Yeah.
I said Nevada.
Oh, how do you say it? I don't know. It's either or, right?
I think it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, they didn't actually mess with me, so care less how I say it. They give me one of those offers and then never talk to me again, so I don't really count that one.
Okay.
But Hofstra sent me one, and UCSB in Santa Clara, and that was it. And it was just them three.
Did you think you could play in the NBA back then?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
What made you confident that you could play in the NBA?
I thought I had all the skills to do it, and I was just short. So I was like, yeah. So there are shorter people in the NBA than me. So
are your parents tall? Did you?
My dad,
you knew you would grow.
Yeah, my dad's. Well, once it starts
getting
touch
and go.
Yeah, college, and I'm still like 6'2.5". I'm like, it's very touchy there.
Yeah.
And then I grew that summer.
Okay, but
my mom's 5'10", dad's 6'7". And then my brother stole all the height. He's 6'8".
Yeah, that's amazing. You mentioned, by the way, I think it was Jaden McDaniels, if I'm not mistaken, that had a dunk attempt, and that's what knocked you out for a few games early in the season. This post AllStar break, your production, I'm sure you know this, but 18.6 points a game, 5.4 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 55% from the field, a little under 43% from three. What changed from pre AllStar break to post AllStar break, besides just being comfortable?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't mean this in like a negative way, but like obviously my minutes went up. I think just playing more obviously helps. I feel like early in the season, it was just like we were in so many close games to start the year I was in. I got really comfortable, and then like who I was guarding. So it's like I'm guarding Luka, then Kyrie, and then so I'm like in the fire for like a lot of these games. So I feel like I was already really comfortable. And then I think Shai went out. So now our spots are a little different. So now we need kind of somebody else to score. So now I'm in a lot more just situations and stuff like that where I'm able to figure it out. And then my coaches are obviously kind of just let me rock out, which is rare, to just kind of let me go out there and mess up and figure it out. So I was out there just confident. And sometimes that's like, there's a lot of talented dudes with, like confidence can be low, and it's like other dudes, just have the opportunity. So that's kind of a mix. And then I was just comfortable.
But you're saying you gained a level of comfort and probably confidence early on.
Yeah.
Just from having the defensive assignments, had nothing to do with the offense.
It didn't really have nothing to do with because it's just like if I feel like I'm just in so many actions defensively, and then I was sneaking buckets offensively, like backdoors, running the lane. So I'm like in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm getting 12 points a game off cutting and maybe a spot up three here and there. And then towards the end, I have the ball. I've watched it for half the year. So now I'm kind of in the action. And, I think Mark was kind of setting me up and putting me in good spots where he knew I could be effective, which was like us communicating like, hey, where are you comfortable at during the year? And then by then I was just kind of comfortable playing.
Yeah. The shooting piece, because you didn't, even post AllStar break when you were shooting 43%, I think you took
maybe
less than 3 attempts a game.
Yeah.
Where are you right now on October 16th in terms of your like confidence level with threes? And because I think we started this, you brought up, becoming an elite scorer, and you talked about free throws, but I think at some point, right, you have to become a volume 3-point shooter.
Yeah, just hunting them. I have no problem shooting a three. I think everybody likes shooting threes. A lot of it was my eye to start that half, was just like confidence, like going out there with the mask on and stuff. Like, this is my first year.
Isn't that bad?
I wouldn't say it's the mask, but I think my eye was bad at the time. So I wasn't really like.
So it wasn't just like the discomfort or like the mask itself, but it was like, your actual eye.
Yeah, like my eye was red till like January. So it was just like stuff like that. Like I couldn't really blow my nose until March. So yeah, like I had a lot of stuff with my eye going on, but it was just more like shooting when you're open, and like my confidence built up. And then I think towards the end too, I was like, okay, like this is probably where I'm going to get a lot of mine. And then yeah, from there now I still have no problem shooting. I'm just hunting them.
So you went through cold and flu season with lacking the ability to blow your nose.
It was bad. That December till around January is bad.
Tell me about Shai, because look, there's a lot of debate. I don't know why, but there's a lot of debate about like what an actual superstar is. I think Shai is a superstar. He doesn't do a ton of media. Like outside of Shai, the basketball player, I know him as like a league fits first team, all guy, type guy. Like he dresses really, really well. I like his fits. First team every year, outside of that, I don't know anything about him. What's he like day to day? Just like as a teammate, a leader, a competitor?
Well, yeah, he's super competitive. And our team doesn't really lack that. I like our practices. Like even the one we had today was fun. Yeah, I forget where.
Was there an incident today?
No, it was. There's never like any like brawls, but you know, like we always exchange words, and like our practices are really competitive, so it's always fun to practice. But yeah, he's overly competitive. He's probably still in there shooting.
He's probably still in there shooting.
Yeah.
So he's a gym rat.
Yeah, for sure. And that was good for me, especially my first year, because I ended up like just going with him, and I feel like I was able to kind of learn from that. So now like I'll stay after too. And like, I feel like that's really infectious with the team. And then I know Mark is big on like, and just the Thunder in general is like investing in the team. So like we do a lot of like team stuff and we're always kind of around each other, but yeah, he's goofy.
Do you think, again, you're in your second year, you know, one experience, because I was going to ask you about this anyways, but do you think some of that is that, this is not a knock on Oklahoma City, but some of that is that you guys are in Oklahoma City.
For sure.
Because I remember just like that young Thunder team, right? They call it 2010 to 2014, whatever. Like every article that was written about that team was how much they hung out together in their towns or, you know, in their hometown. Young guys. Russ was young. James was young. Kevin was young. And you're in Oklahoma City. I think there's a lot to do here. I've always been an Oklahoma City stan. I want to go on record as saying that. But is that part of it?
Yeah, I think when you're young here, it's not really a ton to do, you know, and I mean that relative to like, if you're in LA when there's everything to do, but I think that's really helped us. Cause it's like guys be like, hey, you want to go shoot? You want to go to Top Golf? Want to come over? And I just got Nintendo, so I've been avid on you know, everybody coming to play the Switch. But like, yeah, I'll go to like Shai's house. Like we have like dog days. Like guys will bring their dogs over to somebody's house. It's probably been Shai's house because he's the biggest backyard. Or like Aaron Wiggins and Jay Will and Trey Mann will like take their dogs places and do that. So like it's like we end up finding like random team stuff to do, or like we'll all go out to dinner.
Were you aware when, probably not because you didn't know who Mark Daigneault was, but probably not when pre-draft, but were you aware when you got drafted here of the fan base and the connectivity between the Thunder and this community? Like, did it strike you right away when you got here?
When I got here, first, I was extremely excited. Everybody always says, like, I don't know if you've seen it on my TikTok. I have like a video of me, like, I put my phone like while my name is getting called. So I'm like, and then like there's like video of me kind of sitting there, like I had like no reaction to getting drafted.
Expressionless. Yeah. I remember I saw that.
Yeah. But when I got here to the Omni Hotel, it was like the coolest thing. There were so many fans here, and like that was already my telltale sign of like, oh yeah, this is new. Like people were like stopping me and like not even asking for pictures, just like telling me they were proud of me, like I'm their kid kind of thing. And that's been like steady through like since I've been here. Like people are really like cognizant of your time and like are really aware and are really like, it's just a real genuine feel here. So I really enjoy being here. I know it probably sounds like a media answer, but like it actually feels like a family environment a lot of times.
Yeah. Right. If you're a young guy here in the NBA, off the court, not lit, but the basketball part of it is lit.
Yeah, basketball's lit. Everything else,
that's okay to say, man. That's okay to say. What do you care to elaborate why you were expressionless when you got drafted?
I don't know. I had a really good pre-draft and those workouts, so I wasn't really shocked about anything that was going to happen that night.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know they were going to pick. I didn't know OKC had the pick, but I was just comfortable of what I had done up until that point where it's just like, it's in God's hands, so I'll just leave it there.
In talking to you, it's clear to me that you like have I hate complimenting guys when they're on the show. I usually do this in the intro, but it's clear to me that you have a good head on your shoulders. You're sort of wired, how I would want one of my players to be or one of my teammates to be wired. Like it's very, very clear. And I'm like, I guess from my own personal experience, like mindset became such a big part of my day-to-day existence in the NBA. I don't want to use like the psychological terms, whether it's like a growth mindset or, trying to be a good teammate or not being complacent and always trying to get better. And I think back to like my rookie year and just the whirlwind that is draft, summer league, and I was hurt and training camp and you're going through everything for the first time. And it's honestly kind of hard to have like a solid mindset because everything's coming at you so fast. And when you think about your mindset going into your rookie year versus your mindset now going into your second year, coming off first team all rookie team, coming off being second in the rookie of the year vote, like has your mindset changed around both this season, your second year, and potentially even just like your career?
Kind of. I think I just got like more mature, and then I said the word comfortable a lot, but just like I feel like I'm just more aware of like how the season's supposed to go in regards to like time, and like I understand like how fast last year went. So I think like this year a lot of my maturing was like embracing like practices like where you don't really want to get up or like stuff like that, just because it goes by so fast. Like we're already about to start really playing. So I think, for me, it's just been maturing and like cherishing like little stuff that like we've kind of had like in between up until the season. And then I think the biggest thing still is like understanding ups and downs of the season.
What do you mean by cherishing stuff? Elaborate on that.
I think you just like the season goes by so fast and you get caught playing so many games. Like you can play 4 games a week for a good stretch. And it's like really easy to forget like little things that kind of happen like in that thing. Like, you can have team dinner in between there and just stuff like that, like really kind of appreciating that. Cause especially on our team, like I don't think a lot of teams always do that. And I don't think a lot of teams hang out the way we do. And then obviously the nature of the NBA, you just trades, waves, contracts, all that stuff. Like, some of your friends can be gone, tomorrow. So just cherishing that for real. Because the NBA, it's a business.
Has anybody ever told you you're an old soul?
Yeah.
Who's told you that?
My parents.
At what age? What was the first age they told you that?
If I was young, I was like 4th, 5th grade.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I wanted to kind of also ask you about, we're talking about your accomplishments from last year, but the USA basketball experience. We've had on a couple guys since the Vegas mini camp. Talk with Q as well. Quentin, when I was with him a few weeks ago, had Cam on. What was that like to, first of all, get invited to it and participate as a select team member, but also just the glimpse into USA basketball and the glimpse into what potentially could be your future, playing in the World Cup, playing in the Olympics.
Yeah. It was super cool. That's one of those things that like, I feel like first off, it happened super fast. I got like a text like 4 days before and I was at home for the first time all summer. And Sam was like, hey, like it's a big opportunity. Like, you should go.
They asked you 4 days before?
Yeah, it was quick. I'm not gonna lie. This was not in advance, but I'm in Arizona. So Vegas to Arizona is quick. But I think anytime you could do anything for Team USA, regardless of if you're on the team or if you're doing what we were doing, like I felt, that was dope. And that was like the best runs that I had all summer. Cause you're going against some of the top talent in the NBA. I'm playing with top young talent in the NBA, and it's like everybody's trying to do the right thing. So like all the summer stuff I worked on, I was able to like kind of do stuff in there. And then obviously like
you're being very coy. I'm just gonna make an observation. You're being very coy with the summer stuff you worked on.
Yeah.
You're being very coy.
I can't let the people know what I did.
You don't want to let people know what you added to your bag.
Scouts. Game 56, then everybody will probably have it figured out. So up until then.
I'm going to spend so much time on Second Spectrum for the first month of the season, just looking up your clips.
What I'm doing, yeah.
I'll just be like, oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. Though.
I see this.
Yeah. I had a good summer. So. I can't give away the tea on what I was doing.
I get it. You're a competitor. I get it.
Yeah.
All right, Jalen, this has been awesome, man. This was a good first sit down, hopefully of many as your career progresses. Definitely rooting for you, man.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Jalen, last question, the Roback question. A reminder to our viewers that you can use code OLD on roback.com for 20% off your first purchase, RHOBACK.com, code OLD. Jalen, we talked about your high school recruiting being rather light. Very light. Despite that, was there a specific moment in your life where you knew you were capable of playing in the NBA?
Yeah, I think my parents were big on like, if you want it and work for it enough, like you can obtain it. So that was a big thing. And then honestly, I want to say when I had my growth spurt, before I got into college, in my head, I was like, now that I have all the guard stuff that I had from when I was little growing up until now, I hit that growth spurt, started putting on a little weight in the weight room. I was like, that was kind of like my sign. Like I was like, okay, now I'm 6'5", I'm fitting into my frame. I got way more athletic. That was like
but there wasn't like a specific AAU game or high school game, or even in college, like there wasn't, like Maxie the other day talked about having 19-8 and 4 on the road in Georgia against Anthony Edwards and being like, I'm going to the league. Like I knew.
I mean, like, I don't know.
He was like, I'm going to the league. It was that game. I'm going to the league.
I definitely had a game where I was like, I was going to the league. I think the beginning of my sophomore year, which was COVID, unfortunately, I think I could have went to the NBA that year, but just COVID, and then I was kind of hurt, so it was just kind of a moot point. But the college basketball really slowed down for that whole like summer of practice. Like it was like way different. And then coming back my junior year, it was like, I wouldn't say easy, but like,
yeah, no, I get it.
It was a gap.
It was the same time period for me.
Yeah.
Even though I came back from my senior year, no, I didn't win a chip, man.
Yeah.
Like if we'd won a chip, I would have left after my junior year. But I remember like that summer, I trained differently. I got into insane shape. I lost 20 pounds. Like, and I worked on my game. Like it was the first time I always shot. Like I was always in the gym shooting, but it was like, all right, I'm gonna work on my game. And to your point about USA basketball, all of a sudden I'm in pickup and I'm doing things that I've never done before. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually better than all these guys. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to play in the NBA.
Yeah. I'm honestly, there was just like a gap. Yeah. I think in my last like college game, I had 20 and 20.
Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah. That's a pretty good indicator.
All right. You guys know I'm a huge fan of this brand. I wear it all the time. I think I wear it on every episode. Make sure to go get yourself some Roback gear now. Thank you, Jalen.
Yeah. Appreciate it.